versus Metro City Police. Plaintiff, are you ready?
Yes.
And defendant, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, plaintiff, you may proceed with your opening statement.
Okay, I am Devin Wilson. I'm attorney for the plaintiff. The officer in this case violated my client's First and Fourth Amendment rights. Precedent in Brown versus Muhlenberg and Robinson v. Fetterman will hold that police officers have no right to seize dogs in these situations. The stipulated facts also show that no violence was seen in front of the Speedy Mart on that day. The dog was not at large and it was leashed at all times or peaceful during this time. The stipulated facts also show that Decker was in her yard when the officer first approached her. Therefore, she should put herself, the officer put herself and others in danger for no rightful cause. Witnesses will testify under oath that these statements are true and that Officer Parnes is in the wrong in this case. Exhibit D, Metro City Police Department crowd management policy will show that the officer put herself or himself and others in danger when he should never have acted alone, or at least stuck to the script, arrested Terry Gibson and got out. No violence was seen in front of the Speedy Mart, therefore the police officer should have remained calm and talked to the people rather than arresting someone for no rightful cause. The dog was harmless, leashed, and had no aggressive history according to the stipulated facts. It was actually a show dog before this incident. The officer had no reason to extend the scene beyond what was seen in front of the Speedy Mart, so he never should have approached Miss Decker in the first place, and that will be shown through witness statements. When the officer first demanded her to stop, she was in her own front yard. And where is this going to stop if we can't videotape things or maintain our First Amendment rights in our own property? Officer Parnes obviously violated Decker's First and Fourth Amendment rights. The officer was flustered, alone, and under a lot of pressure, but still, this should never have happened. Miss Decker was being held at gunpoint when Angel simply stood up and lost her life. To better prepare for the future, the relief my client requests is for the good of the police department and for the citizens of this town. Thank you.
Thank you. You all can tell I'm taking notes.
Yeah. Permission to move about, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, opposing counsel, my name is Sunny Sims and I'm representing the defendant, Paul Parnes. I have here today a police officer that puts his life on the line every day to make sure that the community is safe, but he also gets criticism due to all the stigmas against police officers. Paul Parnes is a 13-year-old veteran for Metro City Police Department and is also a father of 2 children. Imagine doing your job, which is a very dangerous job, and you're interrupted by people yelling and spitting at you and making your life in danger, and you know that you have 2 kids at home waiting for you. On January 16, 2012, Officer Parnes gets called from dispatch to respond to a complaint at a convenience store. As he arrives to the scene, he notices a large amount of people that aren't recognizable by him. They're hanging outside of the convenience store, and he knew that this was a flash mob. And not your happy singing and dancing flash mob, but when a large amount of people walk into a store and steal things and also cause problems in the streets. Type of flash mob. Officer Parnes notices one person that decides to walk away from the group suspiciously. That person is Terry Gibson. And when he calls out Terry Gibson, he ditches a stash of cocaine in a sewer and walks away. Officer Parnes sees this as a peaceful opportunity to break up the group and make him leave. He was trained to bust someone in front of a group of people that was doing a blatant crime to cause the people to leave. So he busts Gibson and asks everyone else to leave as trained. But the group of people refuse to leave and they start yelling and spitting at him. And then he notices a person across the street that's causing this problem with a pit bull and filming him. Officer Parnes then asks that person that's filming and yelling, named Erica Decker, to stop filming and to stop yelling at him. As Decker was already breaking 2 laws, inciting a riot and interfering with an arrest. Under the new Columbia Civil Code, Section 1322, inciting a riot is when public disturbance involving assembly of 5 or more people who are causing a lot of noise or violence to damage or put a person in danger, to a property also. Under the new Columbia Civil Code, Section 5750, interfering with an arrest is when a person knows an officer is making an arrest and they're trying to prevent the arrest by using violence, physical force, or other distractions. In this case, it was distractions. He was telling Terry to run away. He was also causing the arrest to be more difficult for Officer Parnes. But Decker did not comply. As she continued to yell, her pit bull was starting to get way more aggressive. Due to the filming with both hands, Decker was not holding the leash of the dog, and the dog was barking and shifting back and forth at Officer Parnes. Officer Parnes asked Decker to constrain the dog, but Decker ignored. The dog's teeth began to show, and the dog began to lunge towards Parnes. With fear for his and other citizens' life, he then shot the dog. Technically, Decker was violating the new Columbia Civil Code, Section 5500, which states that it's unlawful for an owner to allow their dog to run at large. At large meaning that this dog was not confined or under control by the owner. Also under Section 5500, it states that it is lawful for animal control or a police officer to shoot or kill an animal that's at large. Officer Parnes, not pursuing any changes against Decker, he wanted to show how well he handled the situation and the video, yet Decker somehow accidentally deleted the video that he was filming. Today you will hear from the plaintiff, and they will try to make it seem that Officer Parnes harassed Terry Gibson, who clearly broke a law, and they will also try to say that the dog was property and Decker's constitutional right was broken through search and seizure, but the dog was putting lives in danger and had to be stopped. Today I ask you to listen to both sides of the case and consider that Officer Parnes did what he had to do to save lives. Thank you.
Plaintiff, would you like to present your witnesses at this time?
Yeah.
Are you the group that Megan was with?
That's
to begin
ours.
with?
That's us.
With
Yeah.
you all?
No, we're
Oh.
short staffed, but everyone's here. We only have 4.
Yeah, we only have 4.
Oh, okay, so it actually turned out okay. Okay, side comment by the judge. This was the team that originally only had 4?
No, we had
No.
5.
No,
We
no,
only
this
had
was the team that only had 4. They had 5, but Megan had work conflict, et cetera, and had to withdraw from the class. So it turns out you both have, because all of a sudden I'm looking at the attorney and he's got a t-shirt on. Okay, very good. So, shall we proceed?
Yeah.
Plaintiff?
The plaintiff will call Terry Gibson.
And another thing too, we're gonna be more restrictive on time. I think I said 3 minutes per each direct and cross-examination. So the court clerk is here, so you should be able to see. You could just hold up like, and 1 minute is left, and then, I don't know, wait, and it's gone. Okay, thank you, sir. Don't forget to introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Cameron Kazel, the attorney for the plaintiff. Would you please state your name for the court?
I'm Devin Wilson, I represent Terry Gibson.
Can you tell me what you were doing on that date, January 16, 2020?
Yeah, I just showed up at the Speedy Mart, bought a couple of things, like coffee, creamer, stuff like that. I was heading out to hang out with my friends. We're gonna go shoot some hoops in a empty basketball court nearby. So just bought the stuff and left the store to make a phone call to one of my friends.
And this is why you're on this side of town?
Yeah. Usually I don't go around that side of town, but we were playing basketball, so.
And what was going on? What happened when you left the store?
So I was making a phone call, and then this police officer shows up and starts yelling at everyone, telling them she's gonna arrest, he's gonna arrest everyone. I couldn't tell what was going on, and I was like, I already had too many run-ins with the police, so I was just gonna walk away peacefully, because I ain't doing nothing wrong.
And what were those?
What?
What were those run-ins?
Yeah, so a few years ago, I got arrested for marijuana, but that has nothing to do with this case at all. I just was walking away, so.
That was clear.
Yeah, no, I cleared, I paid my time for that, so. Irrelevant. I was leaving the store when she came and tackled me from the behind. I didn't do anything. I threw some creamer packets down the sewer. And then she just comes and tackles me, throws me halfway across the street, and I didn't have any time to even defend myself.
So it was packets of creamer that were thrown in this gutter? There was no illicit drugs involved?
Yeah, no.
And what happened from there, after you were tackled to the ground?
So I was tackled to the ground. I heard some people yelling across the street, and it actually turned out to be Mrs. Decker. I played football with her son a few years ago.
Oh, so you're familiar with?
Yeah, I'm friends with the Decker. So she had her dog, and she was like yelling at the police officer, because obviously I shouldn't have been being arrested, because I didn't do nothing wrong. And then the police officer goes over and like starts yelling at them too, like she wilding, Keith. Yeah, so.
And where were you when he ran across the street?
I was already in the car.
Oh, so they had thrown you in the back of the car?
Yeah, they threw me in the back of the car for nothing.
Okay.
And then I heard some shots or something, and apparently the Decker's dog got shot. But I don't know what happened.
But you didn't have a line of sight, you couldn't possibly have seen?
No, I was already arrested in the car, so I don't know why she didn't leave in the first place.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
A witness? Stay and be cross-examined.
Mr. Gibson, what do you do for a living?
Introduce yourself.
Oh,
please.
sorry. My name is Ryan Leonard. I am an attorney for the defendant. Terry Gibson, what do you do for a living?
I quit my job a little while ago, so.
So you're unemployed.
I'm unemployed.
Okay. So you've had a couple run-ins with the law, and does that give you that probably gives you some negative feelings with police?
I did my time, I paid my price, I did.
Which was for shoplifting and marijuana, correct?
Yeah, shoplifting.
How old were you when you were shoplifting?
18.
15 is what your record says.
Yeah. No, I was 18.
18 for marijuana, 15
I was
for shoplifting.
15 when I shoplifted.
You know why the police officer approached you, because you dropped a baggie of white substance, which was later found out to be cocaine, correct?
I didn't drop it.
Well, that's what was found, and that's what he saw, but I'm asking you, that's what you know from what he said, okay. You also said you know Decker, you know Erica Decker. You're familiar with their family, with Angel, the dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know them from the football games and of your friend, correct? Okay. And what do you know of what Angel is, a pit bull, right? And you said in your statement that Erica lets the dog run free at those football games, and it's usually found nipping at or snapping at other
No, it never nipped or anything. Sometimes it would like bark.
Snap? It would snap at children?
No, it would bark and growl, but that's just.
So your
what
statement
it
says
do.
different. And parents were also scared of the dog and the fear of it biting the children, correct?
They'd never been.
And they went to the coach?
Yeah, sure. People were scared of the dog and they wanted it out of the.
And they went to the
field
coach
because
and they
it
told the
caused
coach
them
about it,
to-
and the coach asked Decker to leave the dog at home
Mhm.
for fear, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So my final questions. Decker was also getting people, egging people on at the Speedy Mart, telling people, come on everybody, let's get this cop out of our neighborhood, correct?
Yeah, but
That is all, Your Honor.
Thank you, witness. Now, in the real world, we would have a rebuttal, but, a redirect, I should say, but we're not going to do that today. So, thank you, witness. Do we have another witness for the plaintiff?
As soon as our attorney gets dressed.
yeah.
Who's it going to be next?
May I call Miss Erica Decker to the stand? Please state your name to the jury, please.
My name is Sam Berger, and I'm a community therapist.
I'm Devin Wilson, and I am now the attorney for the plaintiff. So, Ms. Decker, will you tell me a little bit about the dog, a little bit about Angel?
So Angel, we bought him in 2009, and he's a purebred pit bull, so we paid about $5,000 for him. And as soon as we got him, we started the training. I enrolled him in like a 12-week, what's it called? Train a pit class, because I have lots of children now, so pit bulls, yeah. And he like passed the class, he got the certificate. So immediately after he was trained, we enrolled him in dog competitions since he was like,
Of course. Did Angel win any awards at these competitions?
yeah, in 2009 he won the most beautiful pit bull competition, and then in 2010 he was the runner-up in the strongest pit bull national show, and he won more awards. Like we created a name for ourselves in the pit bull community.
Okay. So since he is such a trained pit bull and so award-winning, has Angel ever been aggressive before this incident?
We took a few months break from competing in dog competitions because at one competition a mother was like screaming and like pointing fingers at her kid, and Angel's super protective for his children. That's how he was trained, like around my children. And he started barking, but like I held like back on the leash with all my strength and he didn't get at them, but he was just barking at them to protect the child because.
Okay, of course. During the incident on the 12th, where were you filming exactly?
I was in my front yard. I was watching the scene with the cop like screaming at the Gibson son, and I went inside, got my cell phone, and I grabbed Angel, and I was on my front yard just filming the situation so I could report it to the mayor as a complaint for how police are being violent in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. And how did the officer approach you when he saw you filming?
So someone had shouted, "Look, pig, you're on camera," and then the officer noticed me. So he shouted at me. He was like, I was like, "Stop recording this incident." And I told him, I was like, "This case is going straight to the mayor. You can't treat people like this in this neighborhood. I want to tell you how we respect others." And then he like started to approach me.
So did you stop recording?
No, I kept recording.
Okay. Can you describe then, I know it'll be hard, but what happened to Angel?
So it like went pretty fast. He sprinted towards Terry and tackled him to the ground and arrested him, and then came at me and like he approached me and he had his gun drawn. And then like Angel stayed, and I was afraid of getting shot, so I stopped recording and I put the phone down my side. And then Angel stood up, but she wasn't in an attacking stance or anything. Because when pit bulls attack, they tense up really like hard and they bare their teeth, and she wasn't doing that. He wasn't doing that at all. So then the cop just turned, pointed the gun at Angel and shot him like 3 feet away from me with my children watching and everything.
That must be hard. So how has this affected your life since?
Well, Angel was an investment. We paid $5,000 for her, and she won so many competitions. We would earn like $1,000 to $3,500 a year in dog competitions. And she was still really young, so we still could have gotten some like New Year's competitions out of her. And plus, like in breeding fees, we could have earned thousands of dollars since she was a purebred.
I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have cross-examination.
Yes, Sean. Could you say my name again? Yeah. Ms. Decker. So, to recap your previous statement, you were at the dog show, one of the dog shows you took Angel to. He got angry, began barking and snarling by yelling of a bystander, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So he was agitated by yelling of others, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you have some pretty negative feelings towards police in your neighborhood, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because you called him a pig.
I didn't call him a pig. Someone
You
shouted
approached
him
the
out.
officer by crossing into the street, correct?
Yes, I was standing.
Okay, so you did leave your yard and you approached the officer standing in the street, correct?
I didn't walk up to him.
But
I
you
walked into the
approached
street.
him by leaving your front yard and walking into the street, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. You did not know why the officer was called or why he was talking to Terry, correct?
Correct.
You took Angel outside to try and intimidate the officer,
I
correct?
wanted to make the officer as nervous as he was making everyone else in that situation.
Was he talking to you? He obviously wasn't making you nervous, if he was not directing his attention towards you. You
The officer
left your
had a
yard
gun
with
out in
your
the
dog to
situation,
intimidate
so
the officer,
I
correct?
was nervous in my own neighborhood with an officer with a gun. So
Okay,
yes,
all officers do have guns. I want
not
you to know
drawn
that.
at students.
And you also told Terry to run, which you know is breaking the law.
I did not-
Run, Terry, run!
I did not tell them.
That's in your statement.
No, it wasn't, but okay.
When you said, "Come here so I can tell you how we treat each other in this neighborhood," which is a direct quote, sounds like a threat to me. You felt you had to defend yourself against cops by having your dog. Juan said, the store owner of the Quickie Mart, said your dog has been found in front of his store growling at guests, so shows you don't control your dog to the fullest extent of your ability. Correct? By letting your dog run across the street and stand in front of a store and bark at guests?
My dog does not do that.
Well, that's what Juan says. We'll get to his statement. So knowing Angel becomes agitated by yelling, and you were too nervous to realize that you had released the leash, how could you see how the dog was reacting? You're standing there filming the officer holding the leash, and you reach up to hold the other thing because you said you're nervous because of the officers there. You release the leash, and you're watching the officer. How do you know what your dog's doing down here? Your dog could be slightly behind you and out of your field of vision.
Well, lucky enough, he wasn't out of my field of vision. I could see that he was sitting obediently like he was trained.
And a dog that's barking and snarling at me would seem quite aggressive.
He was barking because there was a large officer.
That is all.
around.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Plaintiff, do you have another witness?
Yeah, we have, we had to call extra witness, Lee Chen.
Of course, you all know in the real world they'd be sworn in.
Would it be okay if we both address the witness, both the attorneys?
Yes, just make sure your time is synced up on it. Are you direct?
One at a time. Can we both go up there? Do we do it one at a time?
Usually, that would be highly unusual in the real world, but we're not in the real world, so you both can.
Okay, cool. Second.
Will you please state your name for the jury?
We tried.
Okay, state your actual name too.
Angie Shields.
Okay.
We tried.
And what education do you have in this field, Dr. Lee Chen?
I'm a graduate of the City College in New York, where I studied criminology and police studies. I then earned my PhD in protection management from the John Jay College of Criminal Justice.
I also understand you have some military service.
I do. Following this, I worked for 8 years as an independent security consultant in Iraq with private security guards. One of my primary tasks in Iraq was to coordinate the protection of dignitaries who visited Iraq. For instance, I was in charge of security when Hillary Clinton visited. Although I'm not a lawyer, I believe I qualify as an expert in police practices, criminal justice, security, and laws pertaining to these topics.
So what specifically prepares you for
I've been back from Iraq for a year. I've mostly been consulting with airport security units. About 25% of my business comes from educating police in appropriate responses and legal compliance issues. When I work with local police departments, I emphasize the old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Whenever I was in Iraq, I spent a considerable time directing crowd control and teaching security guards how to use excessive force, how not to use excessive force against civilians. This was particularly important because there were incidents where guards shot innocent civilians, which turned into a public relations disaster for the United States.
So how do you feel the officer in this situation responded to what was happening?
Police officers and security personnel have tough jobs. They constantly face violence and danger. This sometimes comes from unexpected sources. Crowd control is particularly difficult. Police also have to make split second decisions because they're responding to danger as they see it. We shouldn't second guess them unless we have good evidence they are wrong. One of my most important conclusions from my time in Iraq is that it's never permissible to enforce the law and uphold order through actions that break the law. Police and security forces have a special responsibility to understand how to follow the law when interacting with citizens.
So, in your expert opinion, did the officer break the law in this case?
Police officers who respond individually to police calls are twice as likely to break search and seizure laws than officers who respond to a call with an officer.
So because the officer was solo, you believe that they may have in fact broken those laws?
I do.
Thank you. We have no further questions.
Okay. Cross-examination.
All right. How are you, Dr. Lee?
Well, next time.
I'm just gonna ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay,
So you have studied in criminology and police studies, correct?
correct,
And you also worked for 8 years in Iraq as an independent security consultant, correct?
correct,
And you spent a lot of time directing crowd control and teaching security guards how not to use excessive force against civilians.
correct,
So you have a lot of experience with how security or police officers should react with civilians.
correct,
And you worked on minimalizing the risk of civilians against harming your security personnel, correct?
yes.
Do you believe that being a security officer is difficult?
Yes, it can be.
And do you believe that being a security or police officer is dangerous?
Yes, it can be.
You said that crowd control with officers is particularly difficult, correct?
Yes,
You also said that police officers sometimes have to make split decisions because they are responding to danger as they see it, and we shouldn't second guess them, correct?
correct.
Now honestly, Dr. Lee, do you find an aggressive dog who isn't contained to be dangerous?
If not well trained,
And did you state that your security team did not use pit bulls and search and seizures because they're too dangerous?
at times, if not well trained,
And you said that Officer Parnes was wrong for shooting the dog, correct?
correct,
You also said that an officer should only use deadly force when they are in harm's way, correct?
correct.
Could an aggressive pit bull that you quoted to be a dangerous dog, barking and that lunging with teeth at you, be harmful to you?
Could be.
That's all I have for you, Dr. Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, witness. Any more witnesses for the plaintiff?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so the plaintiff rests, correct? Okay. The defense, would you like to present any witnesses at this time?
Yes, Your Honor, we'd like to call Juan Morales to the
Okay.
May you please state your first and last name?
I'm home worker and I'm presenting Juan Morales.
How were you involved in the incident on January 16, 2012?
Well, actually on several speedy marches and I was in the march where the accident happened.
And how long have you been working at the SUU Court?
Well, I've been working since I was 16, so it has been 42 years.
And could you tell me more about your business?
I currently on 5 speedy marches and I'm planning to open a new standard shop, but my plan has been kept denied because it might cause more misdemeanors and place issues. So, yeah.
And have you done anything to prevent criminal activity around your stores?
Yeah, I took part in the kind of environmental organization and also there's organization called Clean Street for Colombia, something like that. But actually all of those didn't help. there are still people like troublemakers who getting around my like what just come around my store and make problems and cost me huge amount of money.
Okay, and have you thought of any other ways to prevent the criminal activity?
Yeah, I offer free donuts and coffee for any police officer on duty. And in this case, I hope the appearance of the police officer can like keep this troublemaker away from the store.
Yeah. And what kind of trouble have you been getting at your store?
Like in the past few months, there's kind of group called like flash mobs. They just walking and talking and starting to grab stuff and run away, and that cost me like $1,000 of worth of goods. So that's big trouble.
Yeah. And why did you call the police on the day of the incident?
Cause like there was a group of people like getting together around my store, and some of them bought several alcohol from my store, and I thought there might be another group of like flash mobs and that might cause another problem, so I was kind of scared. So yeah, I called the police.
And did anything else raise your suspicion that a flash mob might happen?
There was a guy, and now I know his name is Terry Gibson, and he got an alcohol from my store, and I realized that he was in a flash mob that happened a couple days ago, and I was afraid that might happen again.
And I'm sorry. What happened after you called the police?
Police pounds showed up, and Terry Gibson, I think I saw he dropped something to the ground, and like the police was yelling at Gibson, and so was Terry Gibson.
All right. And what did Officer Parnes do to Terry after he dropped something down the sewer?
He actually walked towards Terry Gibson, yelled to him, and there are more and more people come around.
And how were those people around the store acting?
I saw like police officer suddenly like turn to another people and yelled to him as well, and then I realized it was Eric Dixon, Miss Eric Dixon, and like during that time I saw more people coming.
Mm-hmm. And how did Officer Parnes manage both Terry and Erica Decker?
He definitely yelled to both of them, and he put Terry to the back of his car, and then he walked to Miss Decker, and they were kind of yelling at each other. Mm-hmm. And during that time, the dog Andrew was barking as well.
Okay. And what did you see going on between Officer Parnes and Decker at that time?
Like they were kind of like, as I said, they were both yelling at each other, and Miss Decker was kind of asking more people to come and create a kind of chaos.
And how do you feel about Decker's dog?
Well, his dog, I have to say, to be honest, his dogs are kind of dangerous. I'm kind of afraid of him. He was loose several times and just wander around my store and growl to my customers. He's not a really kind dog.
Okay. And how did Officer Parnes react to this aggressive dog?
I think he tried to ask Doctor to restrict her dog, but it seemed it didn't work, so he shot the dog.
And where were you at the time that this happened?
When that happened, I was outside my store, and as I heard a gunshot, so I just ran in.
And then after the shooting, what happened?
I saw two more police cars fall to the scene. So.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination, sorry.
Mr. Miles, you mentioned you're part of a Clean the Streets for New Columbia organization, and that you have a fairly strong opinion about the so-called troublemakers in the
Yeah.
streets. It cost you quite a bit of money, these flash
I
mobs.
lost like $7 of goods.
When you've been robbed in these flash mob instances. And you do offer on-duty police officers
Free them as every
the pastry and the coffee, so you do have a police presence at your store
Yes,
fairly frequently.
yes,
It's not unusual for there to be police there.
yes.
Okay. When you looked outside and saw this large group of people outside, what was your initial thought? What were you seeing?
Like they might be dangerous because, you mean when the accident happened?
Well, when you first looked outside, you saw this group.
I saw just a group getting around, and I know they do have alcohol. And I
And
know-
that was concerning for you.
And because I know there's one person.
Right, and then you saw Terry Gibson.
Yeah,
You
and I know
identified.
he was in the last mob.
Now, you said that you can't remember what he came and he bought something. You don't recall exactly. Did he buy alcohol? I don't
They
know.
bought alcohol.
Did he? Okay. Although I do believe in his copy of the receipt, he did not purchase alcohol, he purchased coffee, among other things.
They just bought alcohols. But any, alcohol.
Well, Terry specifically did not buy the alcohol. He did not have to know that.
Alright.
Per the store record, of course we can examine.
But yeah, it's fine, but they
And
do
the-
have alcohol.
And the group outside did have
Yeah,
alcohol. That
and
wasn't-
alcohol make people lose
Of
control.
course.
That's why it's being confused.
And then you suddenly seem to recall that you had seen Terry before,
Yeah, I did.
even though Terry isn't usually on this side of town, per his statement. He was
But
only on this side of town to play basketball with his friends.
But in my memory, I did see him before.
You seem to recall him. Okay. And you said that he was giving orders to the group, like a leadership position, is it to incite something?
I'm not so sure if he's getting order, but he was in that group.
He was
He was in the group.
Okay,
and-
he was in the group.
Yeah, talking in the group.
And you saw him drop something off to the ground.
Yes.
We're not able to identify, it was something white.
Something white, but I'm not so, I can't say it's a drugs or not, but he did drop something. to the
And
ground.
were you inside at this time?
I was inside the store.
Okay.
Where I stayed at.
So from your limited, what did you see after this? After he dropped the,
After he dropped the star, dropped the white thing, officer pounds went direct to him and yelled at him, and then there's more people coming. That's when I got out of my store because I'm kind of curious.
no, because in your witness statement, you did not leave your store until after he ran across the street and approached Ms.
Yeah,
Decker.
after first day.
Right, so he was arrested before you left the store.
Yes,
So that all went down.
yeah, like the officer arrested Terry first and then he went to,
Right, and at that point, you went outside to
Mhm.
see what was happening.
and that's when I realized it was Eric Decker. The officer was the other two.
Right, and Erica is one of your better customers, I understand. You're familiar with?
Yeah,
with the
he
bunch of-
is a very good customer, but we can put an equal mark between the dog and the customer.
Of course.
The dog is good. I mean, the customer is good, but his dog's kind of terrible. Her dog is
Not a big fan of the dog. I understand.
Yeah, I don't like dog. And it's really friendly.
Dogs can be intimidating sometimes. That's fair. Now, when you went outside, what did you see exactly?
I see more people coming around, and
Like a large group?
yeah, a larger group
Okay.
from the community.
And then when the officer approached Ms. Decker, what exactly did you see?
See, they were yelling to each other, they were yelling to each other, and
Very
inside
loud
the store,
conversation.
and Jared was barking and like jumping up and down at the officer.
And at the point of the incident, what happened then? What exactly did you see? They had this argument, and then what happened?
Then it's like, it seems that the dog is out of control and threatening people, and Officer Palms just shoot the dog down.
Now, I'm seeing the witness statement, and as far as I'm concerned, you would have only had a line of sight to see them with their cell phone recording and talking with the officer. And then you said that you heard a gunshot and then
That's
ran back
when-
inside the
that's
shop.
when-
You
yeah.
didn't see the incident go down directly.
Yeah.
So you only heard the
I
gunshot.
heard the gunshot. I didn't
Right.
see him directly shoot the dog.
So you wouldn't have seen the dog either, if the dog was hostile or not. You could hear the barking.
But I can't hear the
You
barking.
could hear the barking and the gunshot, but you didn't
Mhm.
see what the dog was doing.
I didn't see that directly, because too many people there.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, witness. Next witness, please.
I would like to call Officer Paul Carnes. He's
See you dressed up for court today, Officer.
Well, just on so much. I had a lab before this. It's only that I
You should have said you were undercover.
Oh.
Stay off.
So I'm Brandon Allenson. I'm representing Officer Paul Parms.
Officer, please state how long you've been with the force.
I'm a 13-year veteran.
Okay. And can you recall the call that was placed during the day of the incident?
I was on my way into work when dispatch called me and said that there was a possible flash mob, that the convenience store owner was nervous that it was possible, so I wasn't very far away, so I was the closest officer that
Okay.
could report.
And can you explain what a flash mob is?
They are like when a group of people comes in to the store, hurries up and runs in, grabs stuff, steals it, and runs away.
Okay. And this has been an epidemic through this part of the community, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as you arrived, what was the scene?
As I got there, there was at least 12. 9 of them were in a circle. There was 2 just standing talking to each other. And there was one person walking away more quickly than a normal person would, which kind of raised my suspicion, which I later identified him as Trader Gibson.
Okay. And can you explain to me what developed with Terry?
As I pulled up, I watched Terry walk, as he was walking away from me, he dropped something, which he later said that he just accidentally dropped it, didn't know what it was. So that raised my suspicion, so I got out of my car and started walking after Terry, yelling at him to stop.
Okay. And what was, once you approached Terry, what was the substance in that bag you later?
I looked in the sewer, there wasn't a whole lot left, but the Metro City Police determined that it was cocaine.
And what was the crowd's reaction as you approached Terry?
As I approached Terry, the crowd started to get more agitated. As I was walking towards him, I wasn't 100% sure, but I felt something hit me as I was walking towards him. As I arrested Terry, the crowd was obviously getting more agitated. As I was walking him back to my squad car, there was a lot more people there than there was at the very beginning.
And how many, what would you say? And then, so you heard Decker across the street yelling.
Yes.
Do you feel that the crowd grew because she was egging them on?
She was yelling at everybody to come look and see me.
Okay. And after having these things thrown at you, what was your reaction?
I felt nervous. I did not feel safe. And so before I arrested Terry, I called for backup.
Okay. You called for backup. When they arrived, what did you do then?
As they arrived, as I put Terry into my car, and as they were pulling up, I walked across the street to talk to Decker.
Okay. So, did you have a reason to approach Decker?
She was yelling, she was filming. My lieutenant told me in the training we had the week before that he wanted any videos of any sort of our arrest or dealing with the flash mobs. They wanted the videos so that they could watch them.
Okay. And did you have any charges that you could bring up against Terry?
I figured that I could charge Terry for the drugs, so that's why I arrested him in front of those.
I'm
But-
sorry, I apologize. Decker.
I felt like she was inciting the riot, and she also was interrupting my arrest because she told Terry to run.
Okay, so obstructing justice.
Yes.
Okay. Knowing that you had a lawful reason to approach Decker, you had a reason to obtain the film and also 2 crimes that she was committing. What unfolded?
As I started walking across the street, she met me in the middle of the street with her dog. I told her to stop filming, that I needed to film, and she didn't. At that time, she was getting nervous, and she had the dog's leash in her hand. At that time, she dropped the leash and put both hands on the phone. The dog I could tell, was quite agitated. I did not have my gun drawn at the time. She would not comply, she would not give me the phone. So as I reached to grab her phone, I saw the dog stand up and act like it was going to lunge. So that's when I made that split-second decision to shoot the dog.
Okay.
And it bared its teeth at me.
Okay. So what was what happened to her recording?
She said it accidentally managed to get erased.
Okay. Did you feel as you approached Decker that she was a threat?
Yes,
And-
because she had the dog.
Okay. And can you expand on your reasoning for discharging a firearm?
I took it as, what if that dog was a person with a gun? What if they drew the gun at me? I took it as a life-threatening thing that if I hadn't have made that, I don't know what would have happened to me.
Okay. So you feared for your own personal safety?
Yes.
Thank you. That is all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination. And time is going to be of the essence, so let's make sure we keep within the 3 minutes.
Okay, Officer Barnes. So first question, was anyone violent prior to the arrest of Terry Gibson?
No, they just were standing out there very suspiciously.
Very suspiciously, okay. Do you know what proper procedure is to disperse a crowd or a suspicious riot?
In our training, yes, they explained that we need to control the crowd. So I felt like the arrest of Terry Gibson would kind of stop them from getting agitated, but it just made it worse.
It did make it worse. And doesn't the code warn against using aggression or any type of thing like that in the actual code for procedure on dispersing a riot?
Yes, but I figured I had to arrest him because of the fact that he had the cocaine.
Okay. We still to this day do not know whose cocaine it was, so.
I watched him
Correct.
drop it into the sewer.
Okay. When did Decker emerge during this incident? Was it before or after the arrest of Terry Gibson?
Before.
Before you tackled him to the ground?
She yelled at him to run, so I felt like I needed to arrest him then in case he would have ran.
In your witness statement, you stated that you're almost positive that you heard from across the street, "Run, Terry, run." You don't know the exact source of who said that?
She was the only person across the street.
Okay. You say you were being heckled, but in your witness statement, you also say that you don't remember anything that was said. Is that correct?
I know that they were spitting at me and yelling. I do not recall what they said.
As a police officer, do you deal with stressful situations every day?
Yes.
So you do feel like you should know how to handle this?
Yes.
Okay. If you're collecting evidence for this video, why don't you feel that you should have a continued film of what was going on? Why did you want to stop Mrs. Decker from filming?
Because I'd already detained Terry and I felt like that there was no longer need. I needed the video from her because my lieutenant told us to get any videos pertaining of the flash mob.
So why did you feel it was necessary to pull a gun on Mrs. Decker at that time?
I did not draw my gun towards Miss Decker.
Did you not?
Only towards the dog when it lunged at me.
Okay, so it was like a whole, you had to take it out of your holster and point it at the dog thing?
It was, yeah.
Okay. Are you aware that Robinson v. Fetterman and Brown v. Muhlenberg both hold that a police officer may restrain a dog? It may not be killed if the owner is present and looking on.
Yes.
Okay. Have you participated in any trainings dealing with dangerous animals? Okay, so do you feel it would be beneficial for the police office to do so?
Yes, but I felt like my life was in danger at that very moment.
Okay. Did you ever ask Decker to control her dog before you just shot it?
Yes, I did. I told her to, she had both hands on her phone. I told her that she needs to control her dog because of course it was agitated and barking at me when it was sitting there.
Okay. And at this point, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, witness. Do you have another witness?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to call Dr. Andre Larson. May you please state your name and credentials, please?
Dr. Andre Larson. I have a doctorate in veterinary medicine. I'm now a faculty member at the University of New Columbia School for Veterinary Medicine.
And how much do you know about pit bulls?
I am an expert in the care, treatment, and training of pit bulls, which my credentials show.
And how do you feel about pets in general?
I love animals. I've taken care of them all my life, and I know the pain of losing a pet is truly traumatizing.
And how do you contribute to the Metro City Police Department?
I help them train drug sniffing dogs.
And do you train any pit bulls to sniff drugs?
Nope, because they need so much training, and their attitudes can be extremely difficult to contain, and are extremely they can act one way at one time and change completely over in a few seconds.
And what do pit bulls need from their owners?
4 things: energy, time, commitment, and respect. They should always be leashed at all times because they might be mistaken as aggressive or actually are aggressive.
And how is a pit bull properly trained?
They have, again, 4 major lesson areas: heeling, sitting, not jumping, and responding to verbal commands.
And what is to happen if a pit bull is not properly trained?
They're not trained, they're 60% more likely to attack a person or another animal.
And what happens if a pit bull is trained?
There's a possibility that they can still be perceived to attack, so they should always be on a leash.
And what is your child's experience with pit bulls?
I've had to euthanize 15 pit bulls in the last 5 years, which is more than any other breed.
And how do you feel about pit bulls being made to be completely safe?
Anyone who thinks that pit bulls can be made safe obviously knows nothing about the breed.
And what do you think about Angel, Decker's dog, in this situation?
After examining the situation, reading the case, Angel was an aggressive dog, which was shown at the dog show, and should have been kept on a leash at all times.
And as a person who truly loves animals, what would you have done in this situation?
I would have shot Angel.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Dr. Larson.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good?
Yeah.
I understand you're a very big proponent of the ethical treatment of animals.
I am.
You love your dogs.
I do.
So, I do understand that you have had a few instances of being arrested.
I have.
What was that about?
I'm against hunting of animals, so I have chained myself to a hunting area, and I was arrested but just fined for both.
And just fine.
Yep.
So, straight activism,
Yep.
if you will.
Yep.
Okay.
You should do what you believe is right, right?
Now, I understand that you've had a brush with the police outside of that,
Yes.
and what were the circumstances of that?
Just a car accident.
Okay, and what was the specifics of that accident?
I bumped into a cop in front of me. The irony, right?
Yeah, I understand you weren't such a fan of that specific cop, calling him an idiot in your witness statement.
Well, you feel that anytime you hit anybody, you're going to blame it on somebody else, so regardless if it's a cop or not.
Theodore road rage and all of this.
Right. And if I was against cops, I wouldn't be working for the police department. If I hated cops, I wouldn't work for them, obviously.
So you claim that pit bulls are very difficult to train and very
Yep.
difficult to keep completely safe.
Yep.
In your witness statement, you also say that, right here, pit bulls, like any species, do not all act alike.
Correct.
You could argue that there are pit bulls that would be completely safe then.
No. Like I said in my previous question, I'll read it again.
Sure.
Anyone who has told you pit bulls can be made completely safe obviously knows nothing about the breed. Now let me ask you, are you a vet? Have you euthanized 15 pit bulls?
Yes, sir.
I know a thing or two about pit bulls.
I never questioned that.
Okay. Just making sure.
And you're also claiming that this train a pit program is ludicrous, more of a money grab than an actual practical dog training.
Most are.
Most are. And this
Unless
one
it's done by a-
specifically would be one of those.
Yes. I don't know the specifics of the program or who leads the program. I don't know the person, so
So you
To me-
couldn't objectively claim that this program would be invalid.
the thing I do know is it's not led by a vet or a trained professional that has had so many years of experience with that specific breed. So therefore, from my prior experience of other trainings and other programs that have been led by other people, most are, yes, a money grab. And that one specifically, I believe it is.
Based on what you know.
Yes.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, thank you. You may leave the witness stand. Any more witnesses
No, Your
for
Honor.
the defense of defense rest?
Yours.
Okay, let's just take a couple of minutes for the closing argument. So I know you may have prepared something longer, but with our time, let's be brief but thorough, so our jury can make a reasoned opinion. So, plaintiff?
And can I address the jury directly?
Yes, absolutely.
What we have here, in my opinion, is a very cut and dry case where an officer overstepped his bounds and in the end killed this woman's dog and this investment where she was making actual monetary value out of the dog. We would also like to request relief. Firstly, we would like to request that the MCPD be required to attend classes on how to interact with animals, as was addressed earlier. We would like as well an installation of a plaque or some appropriate tribute to commemorate the life of Angel. We'd also like a public apology by the officer. We're also requesting $1.2 million in compensatory damages for loss of reputation, humiliation, emotional pain, and suffering. Any punitive damages that are allowed by law. Of course, attorney fees and costs associated with action, expert witness fees, and any further relief the court deems proper. And based upon the facts, based upon what you've seen, and the fact that this is simply a dog that was at its master's side while she was publicly filming, and to be killed in such a rash manner, I think the jury will find that the officer was wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. And does the defense have a closing argument?
We do. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want to start with putting you in the place of Officer Barnes. You go out every day for 13 years, doing your duty to your community, serving the people of this great community. You get a call on your day into work for a flash mob. Roll up, see somebody drop something into the drain, white powder. From your 13 years experience, you can assume probably cocaine. You approach the man, you take the proper steps to arrest him. While people are throwing things at you, spitting at you, you place him in the car, people are throwing things, rocks, whatever it may be, at your car. You see somebody across the street while you're doing your duty to arrest this person, screaming at you, yelling, "You're a pig, come over here and let us show you what we do to people in our neighborhood." But you're focusing on Terry. You see that person walk in the middle of the street, approaching you, continuing to egg on the people in front of that crowd, and that crowd grows from 12 to 20 people. They're continuing to advance towards you. Place Terry in the car, you approach this lady, you tell her, "Please stop recording. I need the recording. Please control your dog. He has 2 charges to place against this woman. 2 rightful charges, 2 rightful things that he could walk across that street and address with her." That dog was then at large when she let off the leash. The dog got down, and you have a split-second decision to shoot or not. Because that dog might bite you, might rip your arm off. It's strong, it's a pit bull. It could bite you, it could do some serious damage. What's the decision you make? Risk being injured and maybe going to the hospital, staying a couple days there, away from your family, away from your kids, or shoot that dog and go home safely that night to your wife or your husband and to hug your kids again. These officers put their lives on the line every day for the safety of this community. And at that point, he put his life on the line, approaching that Decker and making that decision to shoot the dog, which in his case, he was rightfully able to do. The dog was at large. He has the right to do so. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I face the jury directly?
Yes, absolutely.
Hello, I'm Carly Blumenthal for the prosecution. What we are here today to discuss is a great injustice that has been done to Ms. Ashley Williams. Not only is the defense attempting to claim slander of their name for something that they forced upon this young woman, but they have also destroyed her life. Ashley is your regular college student. She has had an on-again, off-again relationship with Mr. Davis, that is true. But being in a relationship does not equal consent. Mr. Davis has seemed to failed in realizing that. The crime amounts to first-degree sexual abuse in the eyes of the law, as stated in the New Columbia Code, Section 22-302, Section 22-3004, and Section 22-3006. All of this has taken place over such a short amount of time that Ms. Williams has had almost no amount of time to herself to try to process what has happened to her. One day she's just living her regular life. The next day, suddenly she's a victim of sexual assault. We urge the jury to look at this young woman's story and see that this is not anything that she could have or would have made up. We are looking for justice to the fullest extent. Thank you.
Thank you. Defendant, would you like to give an opening statement for your client?
Yes, Your Honor. May I please introduce you?
Yes, tell us your name.
I am David Rogers, representing the defense for Michael Davis.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me introduce you to a great man, to Michael Davis, a 22-year-old business major at New Columbia University. He's a senior and lives with his roommate, Terry Washington, of whom they are great friends. Michael met Ashley Williams his freshman year, and they began dating in October of that year, and dated until the May following, in 2006, May 2006, when Michael got a wonderful job offer in Chicago and felt this was a great opportunity to continue to learn, to continue to gain experience that would help him for the rest of his life. And Ashley was going to go with him, and he was so excited. They were so excited to go together to Chicago, but she pulled out at the last minute. And Michael, he knew that this was such a great opportunity that he went anyway, because he knew just how much this could help him and those in his life. When he came back, they didn't see each other for a while, but they did get back together. Like was said, they did have an on and off again relationship. And in the first relationship that they had, they were sexually active. They knew each other very well, and they were very close. After attending an off-campus party on Thursday, December 6th of 2007, Ashley returned with Michael to his apartment where the alleged incident occurred. In Campbell versus the United States, which is precedent for this case, the court held that there must be corroborating evidence for the offense to be substantiated. The complaining witness cannot be the only one to provide direct testimony regarding all allegations. In that case, the jurors acted with their hearts and not their heads, and that sympathy in the decision-making process, which is a human factor, cannot be a basis for a decision. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I ask you to listen to the statements and to let the facts speak for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. And prosecution, are you ready with your case?
We are.
And your first witness?
Ashley Williams.
Okay, thank you. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Kaylee Hawk. I'm the prosecution attorney.
I'm Carla Burdett, representing Ashley Williams.
How do you know the defendant?
We dated on and off in college.
So you guys had an on-again, off-again relationship. What was different between this relationship and the last relationship?
So we started dating. I met him my freshman year. We were both business majors, so we had a couple of classes together, and we started dating in October, and that lasted till May, and then he got a job in Chicago, and I didn't go with him because I also got a job offer. In our second relationship, when we came back in our junior years, I was very careful of how close we got in our relationship because of what had happened over the summer. He seemed to not want to talk to me, and was so I just made sure that I kept my distance a little bit. So in the previous relationship, we were sexually active, but in this, we were not sexually active, and I kept my distance that way. The only time we did have sexual intercourse was on the 3rd, and it was my birthday, November 3rd.
The next time it happened was the night of the rape. Can you tell us about what happened that night?
We came home from a party, and I kept telling him no, but he kept persisting, and usually he was good to stop, but this time he kept persisting and would not let me go, and then he did rape me.
Was he forceful with you?
Yes.
Yes. So forceful that he left bruises on you, right? Correct?
He just tore my shirt.
Just tore your shirt. Because in your statement, there's bruises. Bruises are found on your arm from being forced down.
Correct.
And you did say no.
Yes.
You were very persistent with the no, but he did tonight. That night he would not listen to you?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing.
are we ready for cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, probably not a good idea. So, you met Michael during your freshman year of college, correct?
Yes.
And in your application, you mentioned that you liked him from the very moment you met him.
Yes.
So, and you two were fairly close at the time, correct?
Yes.
Both of you were sexually active as well. During the summer, Michael was offered a job in Chicago, which you were offered to go with him, which you obviously refused. Am I right?
Yes, I was offered a job.
So he moved to Chicago and you stayed in Metropolitan. Okay. So at this point, you're effectively no longer together.
Yes.
And even though you were not with him in Chicago, you began to believe that he was dating other people at the time.
I called him often and he didn't seem to like to talk to me.
Yes, but in your affidavit, you mentioned how you believed that Michael Davis was dating other people while you two were separated, and how that upset you.
Correct.
Okay. So, going back to the calls, you did call him fairly often while he was away.
Correct.
And you said he never called you?
Not often.
Not often. And he told you that he couldn't afford it. Were you aware at the time that Michael Davis was in fact paying for both his apartment in Chicago and the housing he has in Metropolitan?
No.
No, okay. So he did mention how he could have saved a significant amount of money and spent more time with you if you had gone with him in Chicago.
Correct.
So during your sophomore year, you and Michael both effectively avoided each other because you no longer had that connection, I suppose.
True.
However, you had a class your junior year, and that once again brought back those previous feelings of affection. So then you once again got back together after the 15-month separation. And you, as you stated earlier, you refused to have sex with him on many occasions, except you did do it on your birthday. And however, there were multiple other occasions where you almost did,
Yes,
right?
but I always said stop.
Okay. And he always respected that, didn't he?
Most times, but he was persistent.
Okay. And you also said in your affidavit that at times it became extremely difficult for you to say no at points.
At times, but I always said no.
Always said no. Okay. And like I said earlier, he did always respect your wishes.
Mostly, but yes, he was persistent.
So on December 6th, the night before the alleged rape, you and Michael attended a party together, correct? And did you drink any alcoholic beverages
We
at this
both
party?
did, but we were not drunk or anything.
Okay,
Just a little buzzed.
so you were just buzzed. And do you believe it was possible at all, due to your consumption of alcohol, that you could have been slightly unbalanced at some points during this party in various ways, whether it be physically unbalanced or even emotionally, perhaps?
No.
No? You don't think at all you could have?
I may have been a little bit, but we were just buzzed. I was very able to say no.
Okay. So how much time at this party did you actually spend with Michael Davis?
Most of it.
Most of the time?
He was talking to other people though.
And one of these other people just so happened to be a girl by the name of Jenny Jackson, am I right?
True.
Okay. And in your affidavit, you mentioned that all his time that he spent with Jenny Jackson and not with you, it actually upset you quite a bit.
True.
Okay.
We're dating.
So could you or would you describe this feeling as perhaps a sense of jealousy of Jenny Jackson?
True.
True, okay. So eventually you and Michael, you left the party and you went back to his apartment, am I right?
Yes.
So once you got back to your apartment, you began kissing.
Yes.
And you said in your affidavit that you actually enjoyed this interaction introduction quite a lot, didn't you?
Yes, we have done it before.
Okay. But then you said that you got nervous.
Yes, because I was not willing to have sex with him.
However, once again, in your own words, you said that it was difficult to say no. So, would it have been at all possible that maybe this nervousness, you thought you might have said no, but you actually maybe didn't?
No.
No, you know for a fact that you said the word no.
Yes.
Okay. And then at one point you mentioned that Michael did indeed rip your shirt during this interaction.
Yes.
Okay. So, after this alleged rape, after the incidents which you have described in your affidavit, you said that you were so frustrated that you took off your shirt, grabbed an old sweatshirt in Michael's room, put it on, and just sat down at the desk.
Obviously I was shocked at what had happened because he had just raped me and I didn't think that this was supposed to happen.
Okay. And you said the main reason for this was because you wanted to talk to him and express your feelings to him.
Yes, but I couldn't find the words.
Okay, couldn't find the words. And while you're at this desk, you noticed something on the desk that looked like a note. Do you know what this note said?
It was from, it said,
It was from Jenny Jackson, correct?
yes, yes. It said something about them being,
I believe it was something concerning an economic project which Jenny and Michael were working on together, in which they were both husband and wife, and it says something to the regards of, "Hey, hubby, thanks for being such a great hubby, see you tomorrow."
correct.
And you mentioned that this did upset you quite a bit.
Yes, I was already flustered.
Okay. So, when Michael finally noticed you at the desk and he asked what you were doing there, you didn't say a word, just got up, slammed the door, left, without saying a word, without doing what you said that you were there intended to do.
What can I say? I was just raped.
You said that you were thinking at that time to try and come up with some way that you wanted to express your feelings, and yet you didn't. So, is it at all possible that maybe the whole, I guess, emotions that you were feeling at the time, and maybe even some of the alcohol, don't know if that affected your emotions at all, if that could have possibly affected your perception of the events, or maybe even enhanced the feelings of jealousy that you were already experiencing
No.
through Jenny's action?
No.
You're certain that that did not at all happen? Okay, well, we have no more questions.
Thank you, witness. Does the prosecution have a second witness?
Yes, Officer Jesse Young. Please state your name for your name.
Oh, my name is Jesse Young.
What was your role in this investigation or this case?
I'm the detective of this case.
When was your first contact with Ms. Williams?
The first time I got this on the Monday and in December 10, 2007.
How did she seem when you met with her?
She's very like outside and something, and I can see some like the trees on her arms.
Okay, so you saw evidence of physical violence against her.
Yeah.
You ended up getting a search warrant for the defendant's house. What did you find there to corroborate?
I found the short, just the Miss Williams told me she wearing that night.
No further.
examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Young, how long have you been working at the police department?
Last 6 years.
Last 6 years. Okay, 6 years. So you've experienced cases like this before?
Yes, of course, just like some sexual nature, anything else, like the prostitution and the pornography and children, something like that. Yeah, I did a lot of cases.
So you've done a lot of sexual assault cases?
Yeah.
Okay. So is it true that Michael Davis was very cooperative with your investigation?
Yeah.
Is it true that when you tried to photograph the bruising on Ashley's arm, that it didn't show up in the photographs despite the fact that it had only been 4 days when she came to you after this had allegedly happened?
Yes, I can see on her arm, but I can't just...
It didn't show up in any
Yes,
photographs? Okay. Okay. Is it true that there was no physical evidence of a struggle in Michael's apartment?
Yeah.
Is it true that you found multiple items of Ashley, not just the shirt, but also her toothbrush and other clothing that she'd left there?
No.
No. No, because in your affidavit you said that you found her toothbrush and other...
Just the t-shirt.
Just the t-shirt?
Yeah.
Just the shirt?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have just one great statement here that you found other articles of Ashley's there as well.
Yeah, like the Jane Jackson, like their assignment and something, but I didn't find any like the notes, something.
Right. But other articles, like other clothing items of Ashley's, you did find those there. Okay. So is it true that Michael showed you a homework assignment? So you said you didn't find the note, but Michael showed you a homework assignment which described a project he was working on and that named Jenny Jackson as his spouse?
Yes.
Is it true that you interviewed 3 individual people besides Ashley?
Yes.
Could you name them for me?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Randy Mallers and Terry Washington and Pat Daniels.
Okay, thank you very much. Is it true that no one other than Ashley can claim any actual knowledge of the event?
Yes.
Okay. Is it true that in this case you said that there aren't any witnesses and no concrete evidence? Is it true that you have seen cases like this before where there's no physical evidence and there's a delay reporting the crime and where there are no witnesses?
Yes.
And is it true that you said that in some of those cases the charges are brought out of spite, anger, or jealousy? No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, witness. Do you all have another witness for us?
Yes, we'd like to call expert witness Randy Miller. What are your qualifications?
Sorry. So my name is Caleb Paulson, and I'm playing Randy Miller. So I work at New Columbia University Health Clinic as a psychological counselor. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I graduated with my master's degree in social work. I've worked as a psychological counselor at the University Health Clinic for 5 years. During the first 2 years, I was a general counselor, but I've since specialized in assisting rape and sexual assault victims. I've also volunteered as a hotline counselor for the clinic 2 to 3 times a week in my sophomore, junior, and senior years. And I became interested in the clinic's rape assistance program because my sister was raped while she was in college, and I saw the trauma that she went through.
So you have a lot of experience with.
I do have a lot of experience.
All right. When did you first talk to Ms. Williams?
So I first met with Ashley, Ms. Williams, on the morning of the 8th of December. She entered my office. She appeared very calm, and she was able to answer my preliminary questions pretty easily. When I started to talk to her about Michael and her relationship with him, she kind of tensed up. She got very uncomfortable. And I could tell it was kind of difficult for her to talk about him without, you know, getting angry or upset. And it looked like she was holding back tears.
Is her behavior typical of someone that has suffered the trauma of rape?
Yeah, so with that, there's something that's called rape trauma syndrome, RTS for short. And as far as Ashley's reaction, it was pretty normal as far as survivors, as we like to call them, of sexual assault. There's really no set kind of sort of reactions because everyone's so different and everyone can react so differently. But with this rape trauma syndrome, there's two phases. The first is the acute phase, which is right after the attack, immediately following. And that's when they're characterized with extreme disorganization and disturbance. They can be excessively emotional, just not in a good way. They have to try and mask their emotions. Physically, they might go through a lot of tension and stress and have a hard time eating or sleeping properly. And emotionally, they can have that fear, guilt, denial, things like that, just trying to find a way to cope with what has happened. And then in the long term, kind of the chronic phase that can happen 2 to 6 weeks after the event for really any amount of time, they can have great difficulty getting back to their normal life, or they can adjust quickly and overcome. It really just depends on the person.
Does alcohol create consent in these situations?
So with that, no. Alcohol has really no standing on that. It can't be used as an excuse for the act. You take drunk driving, for instance, just because they're drunk doesn't make them blameless for, you know, killing an innocent.
Is it normal for someone to delay in reporting the rape after it happens?
So it can be. Just, you know, it depends on how the person is, how they react. But when someone is sexually assaulted or raped, they basically have lost control of everything. That power to make their own choice has been taken from them. And so when it comes to reporting an incident like this, some people tend to delay it because that is something that they have control over. But once they've reported it, it's out of their hands again, and they've again lost that control. And it can really affect their emotional state.
In your expert opinion, was Ms. Williams raped?
Yes.
No further questions.
And would you all like to cross-examine?
Okay, so as you stated earlier, you currently work at New Columbia University's health clinic.
Yes.
And you have been employed for them for 5 years, 3 of which you have specialized in rape and sexual assault victims. Okay, so when you first met with Ashley, she was calm and, you know, composed, as you said earlier. However, as you began questioning her on her relationship with Michael, she began to become angry and feeling other sorts of emotions. Is it possible that this anger was actually a misinterpretation of jealousy on your part?
I don't believe so.
Don't believe so.
Because, you know, I've worked with people like Ashley before, and, you know, it's shock, really, is what it is.
Okay. In your affidavit, you mentioned that Ashley experienced a wide range of emotions during your interview with her, correct? Is it possible that these wavering emotions, or as you mentioned earlier, this uncertainty, could be a characteristic of guilt for some previous wrongdoing? I'm not necessarily saying that Ashley is guilty of something of that sort, but it is a possibility.
When I was talking to Ashley, she did express, like, maybe she was guilty of, like, asking for it. But I don't believe that any survivor of sexual assault asked for it, per se.
Okay. So Ashley then presented you with her personal journal, correct? And you said in your affidavit that the response she supposedly wrote on the day after the alleged rape portrayed confusion, pain, and anger. Yes? is it once again possible that this mix of emotion could be characteristics of jealousy?
Possibly, but I would say it's because she's lost that control and she's in shock, as it was the day after.
And you also mentioned in your affidavit that Ashley did not provide any details concerning what happened, nor the use of the word rape.
No, she never used the word rape, but it's possible she didn't really realize what had happened at that point.
Okay.
Shock.
Would it be possible, in any sense, that this lack of detail and lack of use of the word rape is because no rape occurred and there were no details present that could be presented?
It's possible, but I don't know that anyone really wants to throw around the word rape. When you're in shock, you can't, make that decision. I'd say she was more confused and in shock and pain at that point.
So rape trauma syndrome, or RTS as you described it earlier, has a very broad range of emotional responses that it covers. So one example being that some victims will be fairly open and reach out to others around them, while others may shy away and not say anything to anyone besides close friends. Okay, so in your affidavit you also mentioned a lack of knowledge concerning reports of rape. Is that true? Of false reports of rape?
Yeah, I've never really heard of any reports that were false reports of rape.
Okay, so from this statement, I'm led to believe that you do not think it's possible that for a woman to falsely report rape. Would this be an accurate description of your beliefs?
Yes.
Yeah, so a woman cannot falsely and has never falsely reported rape.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I may briefly refer back to your current position at New Columbia's University of Health Clinic. You stated this earlier, but I would like you to restate it for the jury if you may, as to why you became interested in their rape assistance program.
Yeah, so my sister was raped in college, so I saw the trauma and the pain that she went through.
So your sister was indeed raped in college?
She was raped in college.
So this is just a thought, but is it possible that your personal experiences regarding the subject of rape could cloud your judgment in any way, shape, or form on the issue at all?
No, I don't think so.
So you don't believe that your personal experience with rape in any way could affect how you view others who come to you seeking assistance and lead you to possibly view them lacking facts even? Especially referring back to your statement of you not believing it's possible for women to falsely report rape.
Could you restate the question?
Okay, yeah. So, as I said earlier, you don't believe it's possible that your experience with rape can cloud your judgment regarding the issue. So there's no possible way that, because of your personal experiences, that you could possibly tend to ignore the facts which have been presented to you regarding certain cases and instead focus solely on the alleged victim's experiences.
As a psychological counselor, I was just there to help Ashley and help her overcome what happened to her.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, witness. Does the prosecution have any more witnesses?
We have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Does the prosecution rest?
Yes.
Thank you. And the defendant?
Yes, the defendant would like to call Michael Davis to the stand.
Thank you. Thank you.
Could you state your name for the court?
Ryan Robinson, and I am playing Michael Davis.
So Michael, how important is college to you?
It's very important to me. Like I said before, I went to Chicago in order to work and to further education, and I'm a senior this year and studying business, and it's very important to me.
Has it always been a goal of yours to go to college?
Yeah.
Could you describe a little bit about while you were in Chicago, what you did while you were there and what happened there?
I worked for a company that had to do with business, with my major. Like I said, I was all by myself. I was pretty lonely. Occasionally I'd go hang out with guys from the office, and we'd go see Chicago and hang out. So.
Okay. So how long have you known Ashley Williams?
We started dating our freshman year. We took a class together, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And so we've known each other for a few years.
How would you describe your dating relationship with Ms. Williams?
It was good at first. The first time we dated, it was fine. And then, like I said, we went to Chicago, and then it ended at that the first time. The second time was different. We were both a little more guarded, both a little more tried to keep our distance from each other at times. She seemed a little more jealous at times as well when I'd have to work with people at school or different projects with Jenny Jackson, like we said. And yeah, so it was a lot different the second time.
So would you say that throughout your entire time you've known Ashley, or throughout your relationship with her, she has had moments of jealousy?
I think that'd be fair to say.
So, could you explain to us why you didn't call Ashley much while you were in Chicago?
Well, so when I was in Chicago, I still had to pay for my rent in the apartment while I was in Chicago. And then and then I kept my apartment in Metropole.
New Columbia.
Yeah, New Columbia. I kept my apartment there as well, so I was paying 2 rents so I could, when I came back, I'd have somewhere to live. And I just didn't have a lot of money to spend on other things besides trying to pay those and pay the rent and food and all that other stuff.
Did you date anyone while you were in Chicago?
No.
Could you describe Ashley's reaction anytime you talked about Jenny Jackson or anytime you were with Jenny Jackson?
She would get angry a lot. When we were at the party, I talked to Jenny for a minute, and you could tell that Ashley was not happy about it. And when we were back at my apartment, when she found the note, you could tell that she was very mad. And that was the thing that upset her most that night, I think.
Would you say her demeanor changed when she saw the note?
Yeah, you could tell she was mad, and after that's the point that she got up and left after she saw the note, not anytime before.
So based on past experiences you've had with Ashley, would you say that her body language was indicative of the things that she would want, whether it was sex or kissing?
Yeah.
And since you and Ashley have been sexually active before, would you say that you would know the difference between when she did and did not want to engage in sexual activities?
Yes, so it's previously been stated that there were times when she would say no and I would stop. This had never happened before in the past, and I could obviously tell when she wanted to and when she didn't. As I said, we've had sex before.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Mr. Davis, as you did previously state, there were instances in your relationship, both before your senior year and during your senior year, where Ms. Williams would say no, stop, when you were attempting to engage in any kind of sexual activity with her?
Yes, and I would stop.
Would you say that you perhaps have a history of pressuring her or attempting to pressure her into acts of sexual intercourse that she had previously denied you?
No.
So you would not say that throughout the relationship, after the first time she said no, the fact that you would continue doing it wasn't pressuring her in any way? Into something that she wasn't clearly comfortable with?
We had done it before, so I mean I could tell the difference between when she did want to and when she didn't.
So to you, the fact that you guys were in a relationship and that you had sexual intercourse with Ms. Williams once already was the go-ahead to just whenever you felt like it?
No.
So then when Ms. Davis did say no, stop, especially on the night in question, you were just not too concerned about that?
Well, she said no, but she didn't stop physically. She kept kissing, she would say no, and then she would start kissing again, and other things like that.
And the fact that she tried to get up out of the bed and you had to physically rip her clothing to get her to stay on the bed with you was not a sign that perhaps she wasn't wanting to do anything beyond kissing?
Well, as stated before in my previous thing, I viewed it as playful, as not meaning to make her, to force her to, but it was a playful thing, and that's what I viewed it as. Ripping the shirt was an accident.
In your affidavit, you say that you were careful not to push her too much, so there you do acknowledge that you did push her. And I would like to know what your definition of too much is, as she states that she did have to say multiple times that she did not want what was happening to her.
Yes, but physically, she, like I said before, she kept kissing, and she kept doing those acts that would lead me to believe that it was playful or innocent, as I've stated in my case.
So even once clearly verbally stated, no, you took her physical actions as more consent than what she was verbally telling you? As a business major, you must know how communication works, especially when it's direct communication on a subject that involves two parties consenting to a matter.
Yeah, state that question again, what you're asking.
Even with her verbally communicating very directly to you that she did not want what was occurring, you continued because you felt that she was physically okay with it.
Yes, because she didn't stop me physically, and like I said before, I viewed it as a playful thing, and as an innocent type of thing.
Do you believe that she possibly didn't try to stop you physically because verbally telling you no had been sufficient in the past for you to not attempt to do anything to her?
No, because in the past, physically, when she didn't want me to or when she wanted to stop, she had got up and left. As stated before, there was times when she left in the morning, at 2 in the morning, she physically got up and left. And so physically, I think I would say, if she stayed, obviously.
So to you, in the matter of Ms. Williams and yourself, verbal communication not sufficient, actually physically leaving not only the space where she was, but the entire apartment was the only way that she could signal to you that she did not want you touching her in any way?
Well, I had stopped before when she said
So
that.
what made this time different then?
Like I've said before, and I've stated multiple times, this time was more playful and more innocent. It wasn't a no stop. It was a playful kind of way, and then physically she would start kissing and we'd start doing other stuff.
As far as it being playful,
I don't know what else to call it.
as far as it being playful, did you plan on having sexual intercourse with Ms. Williams that night before you began kissing her?
Yes, I had gone into the bathroom and put things on.
A condom, correct?
Yes.
So even before you had, let's say, checked in with Ms. Williams, you were planning that sexual intercourse was going to happen?
It was just a precaution, kind of just in case it happened. I didn't want to make...
But in your affidavit, you state that you knew that Ms. Williams was already on birth control. So if you two were in the relationship together, I'm assuming that you both knew each other's history as far as STDs and STIs went, what was your reason for feeling like you needed to prepare?
You can never be too sure. Birth control's not 100%, you can never be too sure.
You also stated that you felt the note from your partner, Ms. Jenny, was the reason that Ms. Wilson became jealous, as you said?
One of them, yeah.
If there was no relationship going on between you and your partner for this assignment, why did you keep the note around when it clearly was not part of the assignment? Or not explain it to Ms. Williams before she saw it and may have misconstrued anything?
I just had it with my stuff for school. I didn't think it was anything, I didn't think it was a big deal or anything. I just had it with my stuff and hadn't got it thrown away yet.
So finally, in your mind, you have done nothing wrong. This was all completely playful. There's no reason that you feel you should be accused of raping Ms. Williams?
No, I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. I feel like we've done stuff like this before. I'd never had a history of doing anything like this before, and I feel like she's mad and she's jealous about working with other girls or whatever else she wanted to, but yes, I don't think I've done anything wrong here.
So consent once is sufficient.
No, I never said
We have
that.
no further questions.
Thank you.
Am I good? Okay.
Yeah. You have to leave. Yeah. Okay. Sin. Will you show Cindy how to turn her volume? Taylor has to leave, so.
So
I'm gonna
the battery
ask
dies
Cindy.
pretty quickly, so just make sure this is plugged in, but just turn it off. It's just right here, and then stop recording with the red button.
Okay, sounds good.
And video camera.
Okay, thank you. Okay, very good. Continue with the defense.
Great, we'd like to call our next witness, Terry Washington, to the stand.
Thank you.
So would you please introduce yourself to the court, please?
I'm Terry Williams and I'm Denise Christensen.
Okay, so how long have you personally known Michael?
I've known him about for seven years. And I'm a roommate to the defendant.
So how would you describe Michael and his personality?
He's a very good person. He's got a good personality.
Okay. How about Ashley? How long have you known her?
I know them about the same time.
About the same amount of time or about the same time that they got together?
Same time that they got together.
Okay. So, would you please describe your relationship with Ashley?
We've been friends for a while and I'm a bit nervous.
So, you ended up hanging out a lot together.
Yes.
Okay, so what would you do when you were hanging out together?
We do homework, hang out like friends usually do.
Okay, where would you do anything together? Like, would you go to any sort of events or whatever that you were both interested in?
Yes.
What kind of events would that entail?
Football games. We went to help. We went when he was doing the help with the football games.
So by he, you mean Michael, correct? And by football games, you are referring to the games he would effectively referee at the youth center? Okay. So how would you describe the relationship between Michael and Ashley?
It was great for a while when you can notice she was getting jealous sometimes from him around other girls.
So you believe that they had a fairly good relationship together, but Ashley did have some sort of jealous streaks throughout. So where were you on the night of December 6th?
I was with them at the party.
You were with them at the party, okay. So where were Michael and Ashley during this party?
They were talking to people and they were together.
Okay.
During certain times of the thing.
Was there anyone else that Michael would interact with besides Ashley?
Yes.
And who would that be?
One of them was Jenny,
Jenny Jackson?
Yeah.
So who is Jenny Jackson?
She's a great good friend with him. He's working on projects with her.
They're working on projects together. So how often could Michael and Jenny be found together during the duration of this economics project? Often? Would they come over at all?
Yes.
Okay. So, going back to the party, how were Michael and Ashley acting?
They were okay.
They were okay. Is there anything else you would like to say in that matter?
They were interacting.
So at one point in the party, I believe you mentioned that Ashley bumped into you?
Yes.
Okay. What happened when Ashley bumped into you?
I grabbed her arm and tried to catch her before she fell to the floor.
You tried to prevent her from falling by grabbing her in the arm. Okay. So, do you think that maybe the strength that you had to use to keep Ashley from the ground could have caused a light bruising, perhaps? Yes, okay. So you do believe that grabbing her arm could have caused a bruise?
Yes.
Okay. So after that, what ended up happening?
Okay, after the party, Michael asked me if I'd seen Ashley. And he told me that they had a fight that night. Or they had a fight during the party.
Okay. What, do you know what this fight was about?
No.
No? So, when or how did you learn about the charges that Ashley had filed against Michael?
It was a few days after the party.
It was a few days after the party? Okay. Were you surprised in any way?
Yes.
You weren't expecting this at all? So has this had any effect on you or Michael Davis as an individual?
I'm just shocked that it happened.
You're shocked?
Yes.
So you didn't think that Ashley would do something like this? No. We have no further questions.
Thank you. Do we have cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Washington, in your affidavit, you state that Mr. Davis told you that he wanted to take his relationship with Ms. Wilson to a level that was further developed, and that he was frustrated with the way they currently were. Would you say that this frustration may have been because of her constant denial of any sexual activities after their first time together?
I don't know.
Would you say that he was, in fact, frustrated to the point where he may have taken some action with Ms. Really? And it didn't raise any red flags or any concern with you, with Ashley, who you stated is also a friend of yours, when she didn't want to see Michael at all after the party?
The way that I seen it was they left together at the party.
But the day after that, and the days following, when you tried to contact her and Mr. Davis had tried to contact her and she wanted nothing to do with either of you to discuss anything that had happened, did that not raise some concern?
Yes.
And finally, you, in your affidavit, also stated that you don't think Ashley is the type of person who would intentionally lie to try to hurt anyone, specifically Mr. Davis. Do you still feel that this is true?
No, but then I've seen some jealousy when she uses with the girls. I've seen that.
But disregarding any questions of jealousy, you believe that she is still a person who is your friend, and at least at one point in your friendship with her before the night of the incident, that you would consider a good person?
Yes.
We have no further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, witness. And we want to hurry, although we're more than happy to hear our last witness. Let's. So is everybody good staying at like 5 or 10 more minutes? Okay.
Okay, we're about to
Final
call Lee
witness?
Streams to the witness stand.
Thank you.
Here you are. Doctor.
You're going to introduce yourself so
Yes.
we all know.
I am Rebecca Price, and I'm acting as Dr. Lee Streams.
Could you explain some of your educational background?
Yes, I got a BA in psychology, and after that, I received a master's and a doctorate degree in clinical psychology.
Could you explain what your profession is?
I am a practicing psychologist. I've worked for a private practice for 10 years. My focus is adolescent psychology, but I work with all different kinds of people, all different kinds of patients in different situations.
What kind of experience and expertise have you acquired through this profession?
Through this profession, I've been able to acquire a very varied kind of experience. I work with all different kinds of mental illness, as well as different traumatic, or people who have had different traumatic situations or experiences, and so because of that, I have a very wide range of experience.
You've worked with rape victims before?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So could you explain again to the jury what RTS is, or rape trauma syndrome?
The rape trauma syndrome is the supposed symptoms of rape. However, the problem with rape trauma syndrome is that the symptoms are far too vague and varied for you to be able to say that it's a definite sign of rape. Like was stated earlier, some signs of rape or rape trauma syndrome are increased emotions, as well as hiding or holding back emotions. And so we can see that these symptoms have completely opposite ranges, and so we can't really depend on those symptoms as a sign of rape.
So what is your professional view on rape trauma syndrome?
Rape trauma syndrome means nothing. We cannot take that into consideration.
When did you first meet Michael?
I met Michael just a few days after the initial incident and after the rape charges were brought against him. He came in to meet with me, and we discussed his feelings, we discussed his relationship with Ashley, and I gave him a number of tests in order to assess his own personality and his attitude towards sex.
How often did you meet with Michael?
We have met 5 times. It's 1 hour each time, and it's been throughout these meetings that I have administered these tests and that we've discussed these different topics.
Based on your professional assessment, how would you describe Michael's personality?
Michael is a very stable young man. He comes across as very honest. Based off of the tests and my professional opinion as a doctor of psychology, he has a very positive attitude towards sex. He is not a violent person. He does not have a violent background at all. He actually avoids confrontation. He doesn't like to argue with people. And so based off of all of these details, I cannot say that he is capable of having raped Ms. Williams.
And how did you reach that conclusion?
Like I said, it's through the battery of tests that I administered to him, as well as through our extensive discussions during these meetings.
Thank you very much. In your professional career, have you seen multiple ways that people have consented to sexual intercourse?
I have. There are a few professionals who will say that only a verbal yes counts as consent. However, there are the rest of us professionals who disagree.
So in your professional opinion, how can women consent to sexual activities?
Women can consent through physical actions. They can, through their body language, through continued kissing or touching. In Mr. Davis's and Ms. Williams' case, they were laying in bed together alone. They did continue kissing. Ms. Williams did remove her clothes. And so through all of these actions, just adding up together, that can count as consent.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Do we have cross-examination?
Yes.
So, Dr. Streams, you believe, in your professional opinion, that encouragement can count as a form of consent?
Yes.
Even when it has been previously noted that the person is saying no and has, in other instances, attempted to physically remove the person from them?
Depending on have they consistently said no every single time, which in this case Ms. Williams hasn't, and also what sort of tone and other physical actions did they put along with saying no.
So your standpoint is that unless consent is like denied completely, physically, verbally, everything, every single time, then it's okay?
Then what's okay?
Whatever acts are being
Can you restate your
put
question,
upon
please?
In your professional opinion, that any sexual acts put upon a person who has not physically, verbally, or in any other way stated that they do not consent, those acts are okay?
If they are showing that they consent in other ways, then it's okay.
So even if they're saying no and continually kissing, it's okay? Or if the person is pushing them away but still not verbally saying anything, then whatever happens is completely fine?
It would depend on the specific situation.
So within the specifics of this situation, the verbal acknowledgement was not enough?
Correct.
You stated in your affidavit that we've all been in situations where we get carried away by the emotions. You seem to think that Ms. Williams was carried away in jealousy in this situation, but could it also be possible that Mr. Davis may have also been emotionally carried away with his own feelings in the situation?
Looking at his background and past experiences and situations between the two of them, as well as between him and other people that I've learned about in our sessions, I do not believe that he got emotionally carried away.
Even taking into account the history of Ms. Williams repeatedly saying no to actions from him?
In previous situations, Ashley had said no and then also given him physical signs that she said no, such as walking away. In this case, she said no, possibly in a playful way, which is known to happen, and she did not in any physical way give him a clear indication that she did not want sex.
Your affidavit also states that while you have been seeing Mr. Davis for these sessions, he also paid you $400 to come here today and testify. Is that correct?
I, like you, am being paid for my professional services.
But specifically, he paid you to come today to testify on his behalf, correct?
Because I'm missing out on time with other clients, in which I would be earning about the same amount of money. Yes, he is compensating me for my time.
So you would not in any way say that your testimony could be swayed, or your professional opinion might be swayed based on the fact that you are receiving more money from Mr. Davis than you would if he hadn't have asked you to come and testify today?
Absolutely not, because I would otherwise be able to earn that same amount of money from other clients.
All right, we have no further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. And does the defense rest?
The defense rests.
Now, let's briefly have our closing arguments. We'll start with the prosecution.
Today's case is a matter of consent, and Ms. Williams did not consent. We were taught from a young age that no means no, no matter the circumstances. Whether that means no, you can't have another piece of cake, or no, I don't want you to do that. And Ms. Williams said no. And Mr. Davis ignored her wishes. Encouragement is not consent. If no is stated, that is the end of it. That should be the end. And Mr. Davis did not let that be the end. The defense wants you to believe that alcohol can play into this. The alcohol, if anything, makes it more of a no. Makes it more of rape. Ms. Williams tried to remove herself from the situation, and when she did, Mr. Davis pulled her back into bed, ripping her shirt. He forced himself upon her. He didn't let consent happen. He says that he can tell when she actually means no, but no means no no matter what. And that is what is the issue here today. They had a past relationship, but this relationship was different than the last one. They did not really have sex during this relationship. And you can't say that from the past, that the past makes what happened okay. This situations like that, like this cannot be allowed to continue and happen. If you do not find him guilty, it will just make it seem like these things are okay for other people to do.
Thank you. And defendant, are you ready for yours?
Yes, Your Honor. It's hard to record. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would like to ask you all to travel back to one of your more difficult breakups, or perhaps even a relationship where you were simply deeply in love with somebody. Chances are many of you remember feeling crushed or betrayed, and when you saw them with other people, whether they were dating or not, you felt what we like to call jealousy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what this case was about. Jealousy. Like many of us were able to move past those feelings of jealousy. However, the Ashley Williams was unable to. The prosecution would like you to believe that Ashley was a defenseless woman who simply fell to the violent streak of her lover, Michael Davis. However, that's not the case. Ashley and Michael were truly in love. That I have no doubt. However, Ashley's love quickly turned into obsession, which drove her to begin fabricating reality. Michael has shown no patterns of this type of behavior in the past, which you have heard Miss Dr. Streams testify. And Ashley herself has even said that there was no prior incidents of this occurring in their relationships, both before their 15-month separation and after. So, if we are to believe the prosecution's version of events, then we must subscribe to the belief that a man who, throughout his years, friends and family have testified that he's a very reasonable, respectful, honest, and good-tempered man. And they want you to believe that it is possible for somebody like that to flip their personality 180 degrees on the drop of a dime. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is preposterous. How many of us are able to change who we are at the drop of a dime? I doubt many of us are. And the prosecution would like you to trust the testimony of a Mr. Randy Miller, who is a psychological counselor who is a strong proponent of RTS, which Dr. Streams has stated in her testimony is not enough. It's not enough to prove rape occurred. And that's one of the issues with this case. There's no one else who is able to testify of the events as eyewitnesses besides Ashley and Michael. This is a case of he said, she said. And if there's no evidence to support their claims of rape, we simply cannot convict. If we convict a man with no evidence, what kind of precedent does that set for future cases? Today we have all heard the prosecution present a case that has struggled under the burden of proof. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have watched their case be crushed. We would implore you to listen to the facts and act with your heads, not with your heart, and find Michael Davis not guilty of any and all charges which are presented against him at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you both teams. And now, I guess you can just turn that off.